I'm going to go over what you could expect for Q3 earnings that's going to be announced on December 21st, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I think it's going to be an earnings beat. It's going to be a good earnings overall. And moving forward, I'm going to explain why it's going to be even better in terms of the patent sale and the big government contracts expected in Q4 as well. And in the last video, I should have not this last video, but I haven't been posting for a while. I apologize. I'll be responding to all the messages on all the platforms soon. I promise. But in the meantime, instead of having it as a separate video for the last conference call key points, I've already covered a lot of things, but these are points that I don't think I've heard other people mention. I'm going to mention them in this video instead of having it as a separate video. I'm going to go over what analysts are expecting for this Q3 results or Q3 earnings, and I'm going to explain why I believe they're going to be an earnings beat and so on and so forth. Very awesome stuff. If you want to pull up the information for past earnings or listen to the conference call later on and the audio replay, just go to BlackBerry Investors webpage and you could just pull up all the information here. Now, what I'm going to be looking at right now is the analyst expectations. You go to Yahoo Finance, type in BlackBerry ticker symbol, go to Analysis, and you can pull up right here. They're expecting earnings per share to come in at an average of, the average estimates are -7 cents. And then in terms of revenue, it's expected to be at 177.25 million. This is the average estimates. I think this is good. This is on the low side. And the reason why I favor low estimates is because it's more likely that there will be an earnings beat. So that's great. Now, I'm going to show, there's a couple things that we need to do. It's not just to beat estimates. We need to have year-over-year growth and also previous quarter growth, quarter-over-quarter growth. Now, this is Q1 results, and revenue came in at 174 million. This was announced on June 24, released on June 24th, 2021. And then the next earnings, which was Q2 results, came out on September 22nd, 2021, and revenue was 175 million. The reason why I'm showing this is because John Chen stated in the last conference call that Q1 results revenue was on the low side of the company, and now it's going to start moving up. Yes, it barely kind of moved up. Hypothetically, it only moved up $1 million, but either way, that is a valid statement in my opinion, because he would not say that hypothetically if he's not confident to back it up with valid numbers, especially when Q3 is just coming up right after Q2. So given that information, 175 million, we should be moving up higher than that because the previous one was 174, moved up from 175. So that's why I said expecting at least an earnings, not necessarily beat, but just like pretty much around the ballpark as worst case scenario. Now, in my opinion, I think it's going to be an earnings beat. It's going to be quite amazing earnings backed up with patent sale information, and I'll explain as well with that. And the one thing that we want to look at first is we want to have year-over-year growth. If we have that, that will be like really awesome earnings, and I'll explain why. So nobody's expecting to have year-over-year growth for this quarter. We have to look at December 17, 2020 Q3 results, which was the fiscal year of 2021. Right now we're in fiscal year 2023, and the GAAP revenue numbers came in at 218 million for the revenue. So revenue in terms of GAAP numbers was 218 million. I'm not looking at non-GAAP numbers because no longer reporting in that. And if we beat that, we'll have year-over-year growth, plus obviously beat analyst expectations, which is awesome, great stuff, packed with the patent sale information. And the reason why I keep going back to that is because John Chen stated in the last conference call that 80% chance in this coming up earnings or quarter, the quarter which has just ended on November 30th, there's an 80% chance that the patent sale will be completed before November 30th. He didn't say specifically November 30th, but he said in the next quarter. And if it doesn't, it's the quarter after that, which is from December to February 30th and announced in March/April of 2022. 20% chance will be completed then. Now, I think most likely what probably could have happened, because he sounded like he was kind of getting tired in a way that it's taking so long, because it's been basically a full year since they announced it. They announced it last December about this potential buyer that's an American company buying rumored about 20,000 shares or patents. So I believe the accountants of the company potentially, and this is all speculation, all my opinion, I believe that they advised John Chen, since it has not been completed by November 30th, and it's probably going to be, it could have been completed in December, they probably advised them to push it off until first week or second week of January, and that way they don't have to pay taxes for it for the coming up year, and they could pay taxes for the revenues that are coming in the year after. So that way they could allocate that cash for more potential growth, so on and so forth, and then pay it off later. Now, again, This is all my opinion, all speculation. Quick disclaimer, like always, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a professional. Everything I do share with you is just my opinion. It is not advice. So please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. Now, given all that information, we have a couple things that there's a reason why I think it's going to be an earnings beat as well. So not just for the fact that John Chen stated that last quarter and so on and so forth was like the previous 2 quarters were the low points, and then we're just going to keep climbing up from there, but also for the fact that he mentioned a few contracts, so design wins and company contracts. So he mentioned that there was 2 or 3, but potentially more sound like 2, that there was company design wins in terms of 5-year contracts. And we saw one of them that was a few weeks back with BMW. And I believe that was a 5-year contract. And the significance of that is it's good revenue that comes in. And if that's the case, we have either 1 or 2 left in terms of 5-year contracts. Plus we have the Microsoft 365 deal that happened. I was supposed to make a separate video on that, and I will, because I need to show the calculation breakdowns, but I came up with a pretty conservative number in my opinion from the calculations I did, about 75 million revenue for BlackBerry per quarter. And this is just some stuff to show you on the business side. So user pays about each, depending on which kind of tier you choose, but each user pays at a minimum $24 to $20 per month. And I think I gave BlackBerry a cut of 20 cents or 12 cents per user license. So it's very low, and I came up with around 75 million. It's because they have such a big user base though, in terms of clientele. So that's how I got to that number, but I'll break it down even further and show the user amounts. And Microsoft does not disclose the amount of users ever since, I can't remember, I want to say 2017 or 2016, somewhere around that, or I might be completely off. But there are some estimates out there that I found, and I think they were pretty conservative as well in terms of the estimates. Now, again, as a key factor, before I go to the last conference call key points, is what we need to beat is, first of all, the estimates, the analyst expectations in terms of average estimates, 177. I think that's going to be a walk in the park. Then we need to also have year-over-year growth past 218 million, which I think will be fine if you want to account for Microsoft's $75 million per quarter. The only thing is, though, it kind of came in pretty close in the beginning of the quarter, so I don't think you would get the full 75 million. Plus, I believe John Chen and the BlackBerry team accounted for that already in the revenue. So, like, I would say we pretty much would be like touching about 200 million, maybe a little bit above, probably getting close to this. But I don't think we'd be in the 250, 225. There's a chance for 225, but the 250, I think, because it started pretty close in terms of the quarter, I don't think we would get that full 75, and the fact that it might not be accounted for it. The next thing what we need to do is have quarter over quarter growth. So if we pass 175 million, we're great, and I think that will be the case. And hopefully the breakdowns are still growth. Like, we still see IoT revenue to keep climbing, because we did see a good decline from Q1 and Q2. So IoT revenue was at 43 million, and then the Q2 earnings, which was in September 22nd, 2021, came in at 40 million. Not really a great sign, but this is due to chip shortage and the vehicles in terms of, because IoT relies for this sector for BlackBerry more on the vehicle standpoint. So if there's a decline in chips and they're not able to pump out enough vehicles, hypothetically, then BlackBerry kind of suffers in this sector. But their cybersecurity side is growing. They have 95% repeat customers, which is amazing, and that was mentioned in the Q2 conference call. And also, they mentioned that they have caught up in the product gap when they mentioned cybersecurity business, which is awesome, and they're growing their sales team even more. And they acquired, I forgot his name exactly, I apologize, John Giamateo. I probably butchered the last name. My apologies again. Great track record. He was the president and chief revenue officer for McAfee for 6 years, 4 months, COO for AVG Technologies. So great track record. You could look at it as LinkedIn. Awesome stuff. I'm pretty excited. So I think sales revenue will be starting to go up with John. So we'll see. And so the fact that they have the product gap caught up with other competitors, and it kind of sounds like they have been caught up with what is called CrowdStrike, which CrowdStrike, their multiple for their share is staggering. It's awesome. So if you want to look at that in comparison, you could anticipate that maybe one day BlackBerry will be in that ballpark of multiples for the stock. So that'd be great. And the reason why I'm kind of excited if that is the case, if you go to BlackBerry summary, you can see that the company is only evaluated right now with a market cap of $5.3 billion. quite small for a company like this that has so much products out there, in my opinion. But either way, I digress. The next thing I want to cover is the Q4. That's going to be the next earnings. So this is quite important. So I'm expecting an earnings beat for this Q3 results that's going to be released. But I think the earnings that we probably should be excited about is Q4. And the reason why I state that is he mentioned, and I don't think I saw anybody else talk about this, he mentioned big government contracts coming in Q4. So that's going to be great. And that ties me up to the next point. An analyst asked them a question about Q1 and Q2 numbers have been on the low side. And for BlackBerry to meet their yearly forecast estimate of somewhere in the ballpark of 870 million, I can't remember exactly, or 850 million, that Q3 and Q4 revenue has to be significantly larger to meet that estimate. And John Chen said yes. He was saying Q3 and Q4 will be larger, and I think he said majority Q4 will be larger. At the same time, the reason why I'm mentioning that is because if we go back to the estimates, it was about 177 million plus the Q2 was 175. So John Chen said that obviously it's going to be larger than that. So that means to me, combined with the Microsoft contract and all that stuff, if you take 175, account for all that stuff, and it has to be larger, I think we're going to be hitting 200 million for sure. So if we beat 218 million, it's going to be a really good earnings where the stock should potentially go significantly higher. I think that's pretty much it. But overall, I think great stuff, expecting a lot. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them down below in the comments down below. I'll try to answer as soon as possible, but I'm going to get to probably this video comments first and then the previous comments for all the other platforms and everything. Again, I apologize for the delay. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. If you like the video, consider dropping a like. It does help with the channel, so thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, again, feel free to comment down below. I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. If you like videos like this or other financial videos or other stock videos in general, subscribe so you can be notified when I do upload those videos. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.